start coming in to the webinar now, and we're going to go live onto Facebook. Come on in, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll have some people on the Zoom just to let you know, Jonathan and Marcus. And then right now I'm getting us live on into the Lab Code Agents Facebook group, if the stars align. Hey, there we go. Now we're live. Lab Code Agents, good to see everybody. It's Dale Archdeacon and Brian Curtis back again for another Cash Call episode. But we have a real treat for you guys. You don't have to sit here and listen to me and Brian pontificate this time. What we did is we found some real experts, Jonathan and Marcus, from StreetText, which is a really awesome third-party service that these guys are experts at social media lead conversion for real estate sales. But, you know, I think they can probably say what they do better than we can. So why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves, Marcus and Jonathan. Tell the audience a little bit about StreetText for those who don't already know it.
Marcus, why don't you kick it off?
Oh, I was going to defer to you, man.
Well, they're so polite.
We're Canadians, so.
They're Canadians. Yes, that's what it is.
Okay.
So, I mean, I would guess the way I would put it is StreetText is a Facebook lead generation solution. You know, I think we're famous for sellers, but a lot of people don't know we actually do everything on Facebook and Instagram: buyers, sellers, listings, custom ads. But most famously known for our seller ads, specifically the split test. And with that being said, like, we have a funnel that on average, and this is tens and tens of thousands of tests going out there across North America, on average gives us anywhere from 60% to 70% of every click becoming a contact. So I don't know if anybody knows, like, I don't know if there's any marketers out there and people that do Facebook ads or understand CPC. But in general, I think it's horrendous for most people that try to do it themselves unless they're an expert. And then if you're sitting, I think, John, what's the numbers? If you're sitting like over 6 or 7%, you're in the 90th percentile.
8.7%, yeah.
8.7%. Okay, so then take 8.7%, go in your 90th percentile, and then go, hey, StreetText, 70%. All right, 60%. And I have some cases where I can see like 22 out of 22 clicks have given you this information. I'm like, you know, not to pat ourselves on the back, but I'm going to pat ourselves on the back. And that's, you know, that's 6 years of working with Facebook, and we're now a preferred marketing partner with them as well. So it's pretty awesome to have that level of experience to offer to you so that you don't have to go out there and figure it out. We do it for you. You just go work on doing what you do best, which is meeting with people.
Yeah, and generating leads is awesome. But how do you actually turn those leads into real deals at the end of the day?
Yeah, let me interject something for people who don't already know, and then we're going to get to your best practices on converting those kind of leads, because, you know, we all know that they can be more difficult to convert, and we need to talk about that. That's what Cash Call is all about, right? How do we convert these people? But for our laypersons out there, when you say Facebook generated seller leads, give a little more description. How do you capture these people? What are they looking for? And what is the conversation like? Because I'll tell you this right now, if you can generate that many seller leads and 1 out of 10 of them is like, please come to my house today so I can sign a listing agreement, there's no amount of money that would be enough to give you. So obviously it's not going to be quite that easy, but what are these people looking for? What's their position? First of all, like, define those leads, and then we'll talk about how to convert them.
Yeah, so we've, people have generated about 3.5 million seller leads through StreetText. That's it's a lot of leads. The way that they're doing that is by running the right kind of messaging that's going to be attracting the right kind of people. So you can see who in your market is raising their hand saying, I'm interested in listing my home, or I'm interested in selling my home in the near future. And it makes it so much easier if you're prospecting to know who in your area or your farm is actually interested or worth having a conversation, worth pursuing. The key is making sure that you're using the right kind of ads, first of all, to actually identify who these people are. And when you think about social media, especially Facebook, people are coming to Facebook for 3 things, like one of 3 reasons. They're coming because they're looking to connect. They want to connect with people. They want to connect with their friends, their family. They, you know, in this day and age, most of our relationships, everybody, it's through Facebook. It's how we catch up. They're also coming for familiarity. They're looking to see like what's going on in my neighborhood, who's near me. You know, what's something I'm just looking for something familiar. And then the third reason people are coming is for entertainment. They're looking to laugh. They're looking for some jokes. They want to see a funny video. They want to just kill some time. Maybe they're waiting between an appointment. They got to go see a dentist, and they're just sitting there, look like basically entertain me. And those are the three reasons. And so when you're creating an ad, you need to make sure that you're hitting on one of those three key things to ensure that your message is relevant to people on Facebook. The traditional ad on Facebook just doesn't work. If you see a post and it looks like an ad, what does everybody do? They scroll on by. Yeah, they skip it. They scroll on by. If it looks familiar, if it looks like it's like you're connecting with them, if it looks if it's funny or entertaining or surprising, you know that whole sort of surprise disconnect, get them out of the moment, see it, capture them. That's how you do it. And the ad that Marcus pulled up there hits on two very key points there. Number one is it's familiar. When they see the ad, they're seeing something that is relevant and it's familiar. And then it's coming from you. So when they actually go through the funnel, it's personal. So they're actually going to connect with you because they need to know this isn't just a automation that's doing this. This is a real person providing real value, who's a real human being. And that's really key. So right here, so what's your home really worth? It's asking people to identify, like basically like raise my hand. Am I interested in a home value or not? I'm only interested in a home value if I, one, own a home, or two, I actually I'm trying to educate myself. Why am I trying to educate myself? Well, maybe I have a property I'm looking to sell. Maybe I'm trying to see if I have equity in my property. Maybe I'm curious because my neighbor just sold down the street for more than I was expecting. And I'm wondering, is this a good time? Should I be in this part? So this really short, simple question is getting the right people on Facebook to take action on your campaign. And that's where it all starts. So the key is you want to have the right messaging. So this is the ads. And then number two is, of course, we'll get into it in a bit here, but how do you actually start that conversation?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's probably a great one to work on. Brian, I know you use StreetText.
I do.
So let's talk about that, how we start off that conversation with these people, because, you know, for those who aren't doing this kind of advertising right now, people might watch this and they might be like, oh my God, that's the next shiny bauble. Let me get that. And it's going to generate tons of business for me right away. And all I have to do is push click, right? So that's obviously not the case. And it never works that way. It always takes work to convert anything. So why don't you guys talk about that?
I'm so glad you brought that up. That is such a good point. Shiny object syndrome. It's like you go to the conference, you go to the event, and you leave with 100 things you want to do, and you're
I'm
so
not
excited.
immune to it. Listen, I walk through that stuff and I'm like, yes, all this stuff I'm not doing, I should have been doing. That's the salvation. That is the path and the truth and the light. It's not. It never is.
Amen.
Yeah, 100%. And we all fall prey to it. You know, I've been to so many conferences. At the end of it, I'm just like, this is incredible. This is incredible. This is incredible. This is incredible. Wait, what do I prioritize here? So the key
What will
is
I actually take action on?
what am I going to take action on? What's going to work? And most importantly, what's going to work? What am I going to be consistent with? Because if I implement a bunch of stuff and I just kind of start, stop, I'm basically throwing money away. I'm just throwing it out. I'm just cash. You know what I mean? Like I throw it on the field and the wind just blows it away. And I've moved on. I haven't watered it. I haven't done anything. It's like that saying, it's like the grass is greener where you water it. And
Right,
so
exactly.
if you've already invested in something, that's the thing that you want to invest in right now. If you already made a decision like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and you're like, oh, shoot, I should be like, no, just focus on the thing that you've made a decision on, make that investment count. And then once you're reaping and you're getting that reward and you've bidden off enough, okay, now move on and maybe you can look at something else. But so the key, number one, is you look at that. Success leaves clues. Really successful people stay focused. Really successful people, they made a decision. They knew why they made that decision. The reason they made that decision mattered. They stay focused. They keep going.
Jonathan, what I'm hearing you say, and I'm just going to take that whole thing you said, and I agree with 100% of it. The word I'm going to use is mastery. And I think that we've gotten away from that in real estate. And we're going to talk about some of the ways that, to be a master at converting some of these leads. But really, if I jump from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, basically that whole, what's a jack of all trades, master of none, that's not profitable. And for everybody who's listening today, whether you're going to use StreetText or use something else, pick something for this quarter. We just started a quarter, 14 days ago. Pick something for this quarter that you're going to become really, really good at, and focus on that. And don't pick 7 things, pick one thing. And I love that you said that.
Yeah.
So
key.
so we have 20 more minutes. Here's what I want to do. This is what I want to get in. Let's talk about how you guys have already mastered the getting people to finding the right people who have some interest and motivation, getting them to respond to your ads, delivering them to me. What are your best practices? What do those conversations look like when I have them with that lead? And what are the best practices at converting them?
Go, Marcus.
Maybe a little passionate about this. Okay, so let's go into the experience, because it always helps to understand what's happening from the lead's perspective and not from the real estate's perspective. From the realtor's
No,
perspective,
we only want to focus on the real estate perspective. That's the only one that matters, right?
so that's where people fail. It's like, I want this cool house and a marketing image that fits my personality. I'm like, no, you don't. The reason why this map works so well is because it's familiar, it's boring. No one looks at it and says real estate, and so it stops their scroll, right? And then with that being said, they click on it, and 60 to 70% of the time they get into this first landing page, and this is a dynamic lead capture. This is not a squeeze page or a lead ad, which is different. It's I don't know, many people don't understand the different objectives on Facebook, but there's lead ads, there's conversion objectives, there's traffic and page posts. Sellers of this type, phenomenally known for the conversion objective, which, by the way, Apple iOS is making this massive update that will affect all conversion objectives unless you have a solution like StreetText, where you are going to register your own custom domain, and no one's going to even know that you're running a StreetText ad. Look where it says home.
Well, hold on. I don't understand what you just said. And
okay.
I'm hoping that there's one other listener who doesn't know what you just said.
Okay, so Apple iOS is making this massive update soon.
Okay.
And that update will affect all ads on Facebook that have a conversion objective.
So they're saying I'm going to filter out conversion objectives on Facebook?
Pause them unless they have a registered domain.
Okay. Registered domain. What's that? What do you mean by that? Meaning it's a real website?
Without getting into too much detail, Apple iOS 14.5 is being released. And when it does, they're putting privacy first. And so when you go on your app, you're going to see that little checkbox that says,
be Canadian. Damn it.
They're saying, do you want Facebook to track me? You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. And when that happens, that rollout is going to seismically shift how advertising is done worldwide. And we won't get into all the details because it's pretty heavy topic, but just know that this change is coming. And if you can get ahead of it, you're ahead of the curve. But again, whole nother thing.
And so what you do, how does that help me get around the Apple iOS problem?
Well, it's updated already. We've already done all the work.
Okay.
We're an R&D partner with Facebook.
So let me say this real quick. You don't have to understand what they just said. You just have to use a product for somebody who just understands what they just said. So, for example, you can use StreetText and not care what version of iOS you're on, 14, 15, 27, whatever. These guys have already got it taken care of.
That makes sense. Okay, now you may proceed. Sorry, I didn't understand any of this.
Proceed. Okay, so we go into this process too, where I love that you get to pick that domain name, homeswithselma.com, selmasellsvegas.com, whatever you want. And then that is the first thing they see too in that landing page. Now, this is where it gets the rubber hits the road. From that click to the first contact, 70% or 60 to 70% of the time, someone will go in there and submit an address. Okay. And it's powered by Google, so it makes it really easy for that homeowner, especially on their phone, because you guys are all looking at this from your desktop or laptop. From the phone, where a lot of this is happening, it makes it super easy for that person to be using their little thumbs and put in their address, which automatically submits into their StreetText dashboard. Now, the next part of this funnel is where kind of the rubber hits the road, because our funnel on average, 1 in 3 of those guys will give you an email. The address will still be collected, but about 1 in 3 of the email or this of the addresses become, and I've seen ratios even higher, 1 in 2, but this next step is where the rubber hits the road, because at that moment, that person's deciding to give you permission by email to contact them. They have to click on the box and click next with their email to get to the next step. And that automatically fires off an email automatically from our system. Now, we're going to get more information, but if that person stops right there in the funnel and they don't decide to give you the condition of their home with this drop-down menu, they don't decide that they want to tell you age updates, amenities, recent renovation information, they don't give you a sell date or refinancing date, just curious, whatever they want to provide is that drop-down menu, you still have an incredible opportunity happening. You have an automatic email that if you learn how to use it, could be doing this as soon as they get in their inbox.
Just wanted to let you know I've received your Facebook request for the property valuation at address, and I'm on it. Excellent. Me on Facebook, are there any updates or recent renovations that I should be aware of? Okay,
Now,
great.
Remember, this is just one example. I mean, anybody can do what they want there, but I think the key is you humanize the process. Because the elephant in the room is this: as a homeowner, I'm clicking on this ad. I think I'm getting instant market value. Everybody does. No one clicks on it thinking there's another person on there looking to contact them. They think they're clicking on it, and on the other side of that click or their email is going to say your home is worth $445,000. Most likely that's what's going on there.
They think they're getting a Zestimate.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So really, you need to rehumanize the process and help create the experience of why they're not getting that.
And I'm pretty sure that given some of our amazing CRMs out there, we can just automate that. Email gets dumped in. We can have it automated through you. Okay, so that's right on the back end there.
And there's one other thing here that's really important too, which is the power of getting that email right away. So if you're running any kind of lead generation at all, ask yourself this kind of question. Ask yourself this question: am I giving my lead a 10 out of 10 experience? Am I giving my lead a 10 out of 10? If I was in their shoes and I was going through this process, would I rank this a 10 out of 10 experience? Am I loving this experience? And a really simple thing to think about is lead quality changes based on how fast you get back to that person. Speed to lead is everything. We know this. Speed to lead, if Smart Insider, they did a really big study, and they show like the follow-up conversation result. The chance that you're going to have a conversation with somebody, if you follow up less, even 1 minute compared to 5 minutes, that there is halved. 5 minutes to 15 minutes, halved again. 15 minutes to 1 hour, halved again. Like an hour to like a day. Most people are getting in response to people 1 day later, 24 hours later. The other side of that equation is the second contact, the third contact, the fourth contact, the fifth contact. How many contacts does it take on average to get a conversation? If you call or reach out to 100 people once, is that as valuable of a time as calling 10 people 10 times? What's going to get you more deals at the end of the day?
Probably 10 people 10 times.
Yeah, but most people are doing it the other way. They're calling 100 people once. And there's an actual ratio, which is, I think it's about 7 outreaches. It's between 7, it's about 7 times you need to actually reach out to have a maximized ratio of follow-up, like to contact. After that, you're actually wasting time and losing money. So there is a sweet spot of like, if you are going to go and be proactive, but if you only call that person or reach out to the person one time, you've left money on the table, and you moved on to the next one. You've left money on the table. You moved on to the next one. You've left money on the table. So those are 2 really key things. So to number 1 there, Marcus just showed you there that your follow-up process, make sure you have a message getting sent to the person by email. Even better if you can send them to text message as well. Some way of getting to them immediately in the moment, letting them know that you're on it, that you're a real person, and ask them a question. Ask them a question. Lead with a question, because you're trying to create a conversation.
We don't have your sound, Brian.
Ask them, give them an example of what you consider to be a good question, Jonathan or Marcus, either one of you guys.
Well, I mean, what do you love most about your home?
Simple, guys. And what they didn't say is, when do you want to sell? When do you want me to come over and list your house? No, a conversation is not something that benefits me. A conversation is a two-way street, right? So
Yeah.
I'll pass that back. But I think that's really important for people to understand.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think ultimately too, you got to look at this tool specifically as digital door knocking. You know, we all know door knocking back in the day, but this is your digital way of doing it on a place where there's 2.5 billion or more people, where you know that you're working within a 15-mile minimum radius. Not everybody is aware that that's the Housing Discriminatory Act. You have to work within 15 miles. So your influence automatically expands. And so you're positioning this ad in a place where people are going to click on it. And Facebook, StreetText, I think what we're really good at is understanding that. We know that ideally you'd love to have leads coming from this zip code or this neighborhood. So we're going to work with you on finding that. But your ad is going to be dispersed in this 15 miles. And so we work with you on the split test, which is running anywhere from 3 to 5 of these ads at the same time, looking for the audience that is giving not only the most clicks, but information that you prefer in the areas you prefer, quality of information. Because you know that one area, an ad can just crush it and start picking up algorithm in the northwest part of that 15 miles, but it's mobile homes. You're not going to want to serve those because that's just not your market. You might refer them, but the other ad that you're running as a split test picks up closer to home in areas prefer with neighborhoods. And you know what? It's not the same cost per lead. Maybe it's a little bit higher, but who cares? You're going to be, it's going to be ideal for you. So we work with you on that. Number 2, you get to decide the experience. So the moment that person goes to their inbox, how do you want to frame in what they thought they were going to get, which is that automatic CMA, and what you're actually going to do for them? And so here's what, just to kind of give you guys an idea, here's what I think you could do. And it's up to you, and then of course you have to use analytics and metrics that get that open, because it's not just allowing an automation to do it. You have to actually learn how to do this so you get 90% or more opens. And we teach that as well. Show you what this looks like. If I could click on this and
Technology.
play. There we go.
What's your home really worth? Hey, thank you so much for putting in your request online through Facebook to get a home valuation for your property. My name is Tommy Key with Windermere Real Estate. Want to let you know that I am on it. This isn't one of those instant home values. If you want one of those, you can probably type your address into Google and find 4 or 5 different websites to give you their guesstimate on what they think your home is worth. What I do is a lot more thorough than that. I check the MLS for recent comparables that are in your neighborhood or your area. And based off of that, I come up with a value to what I think your home is worth in this crazy marketplace right now. So if you can give me a little bit of help, let me know if there's any unique features about your home, or if there's any recent renovations that you've done. That'll help me help you get a lot more accurate value for your property. And I want to provide you the most accurate value as possible. So normally this takes me about 24 hours or so. I got to scour the MLS to find recent comparable solds and put together a custom market analysis just for you. So if there's any other questions in the meantime, feel free to email me back, call me, text me, and then let me know a little bit more about your home. And I look forward to connecting with you soon. Look out for my next email. The next email will have the home valuation on it. So keep a lookout for that. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Cool. I just thought about an idea. I don't know if you guys have tried anything like this, or if it might, it's worth trying, I guess. But you know how when somebody pulls their credit score, whether they're pulling a credit score to buy a house or to buy a car or to get a credit card, there's actually no one credit score. It gets generated based on what you're trying to do with your credit, right? Like what kind of credit risk you are for whatever you're asking for. So I'm wondering if maybe if you did a video that said, hey, I really want to get this value for you. I don't know if you know this, but there's actually there's no one real value for your home. If you're trying to refinance your home, it's going to be one value. If you're trying to sell your home, it's another value. If you're trying to whatever, it's a third value. If you can just let me know which one you're shooting for here, it's going to impact the number I give you. I don't know if you've tried anything like that.
That's genius.
That's
I love
great.
it.
Oh, but Dale, you're the man to try it.
Yeah, that was fire.
Look at Marcus making a sale on the webinar. Yeah, so I don't know, it just might be worth a shot, to see, because I was just doing a webinar for Follow Up Boss, and we created some new action plans for them. And one of the action plans that we do for brand new, for brand new internet registrations, the whole point is you have to break the ice. You have to get them to answer you. And it's not necessarily like, hey, can I sell your house, right? Because the one thing that, if people aren't looking for a salesperson, the last thing they want to talk to is a salesperson, right? And a salesperson is the one who asks you, hey, can I sell your house now? But a consultant, somebody who's going to give you advice or give you help or give you something, asks better questions, right? Which are like the questions that you guys are looking for. And I hear that in the script and in the video that you guys are getting your clients to use. They're much more coming from contribution. Like that video that we just watched was a great one where he's saying, hey, it's not what you think. I have to do work on this, and it takes extra time and resources so that you can get a better answer.
Love that, Dale.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
And you want to use words like, this is complimentary. There's no obligation attached to it. It's my way of giving back as a small business owner to support you. And I just want to let you know it's free, right? So, even if this is your forever home, I'm here for you. This can be updated anytime. So I think it's
Great.
It's coming across as a go-giver, somebody who's generous, is going to get them that great information. Not, what we like to call is like, you're going to give them the jabs, right? The jabs is everything they want to hear. And then sometimes you have a hook, but you need a lot of jabs before you give that hook. A lot of people want to go straight for the hook.
Excellent. I have a quick question. How long does it typically take for, somebody starts up with you guys, starts running ads in their market? How long does it typically take on average for for you guys to start finding the sweet spot in the ads and start pulling in the, getting the emails, getting the lead, we'll call them leads,
that side of things goes really fast. I'd say like, within a day to 2 or 3 days, like you've
okay.
That's going to be locked in. Like you're good because you're not having to guess. You're not having to reinvent the wheel. You're not having to figure out what the right messaging is for your market. You can start with the ads that are performing best today. You're putting it out there. That's going to give you really solid opportunities on Facebook, and then that's going to start to connect, and the algorithm will do its thing, and it'll bring in the. So through that end of things, you're gonna be really locked in. The other side of it is you're gonna have your automation component, which is now starting to go out. So everybody that you're that's reaching out to you, they're now following up automatically on your behalf. You've got this automation that's getting sent out there, and it's gonna, if you have a phone number, it's gonna send you a text message, it's gonna send the email, it's gonna try to reach out. But then ultimately, the key to remember is that Facebook is a relationship tool. People are there because they're connecting, they're building relationships. So if you started the ad on Facebook, and that's where the person first saw you or found you, bring it back to Facebook. That person exists, they're on Facebook, try to find them, go on the search feature, you can search their name, their email address, you can put it in the city field, bring it back to Facebook. Because the key, which is what you were just talking about, is that when you come from a place of contribution, when people realize, oh, this is a human being, when you're now at a human to human level, it just diffuses all of that guard. It's like, oh, I can see this person, they're with their family. I can see them sharing the post of this client they just worked with, and they're so excited because they found their dream home, or they sold that listing for above asking, or whatever. They see you, they see what you're about, they see who you are, you're a real person. That just removes all the barriers that they had, that they were concerned about in the back of their mind, that this person's just a salesperson. Because all of a sudden now it's like, no, they're not just a salesperson. That person's a real, authentic human being who's serving, who's contributing. And that takes away so much of the struggle between, now I want to get the conversation started. Now it's just, is the right message landing in their inbox at the right time? Because when the right message lands in their inbox, well, there's no hesitancy to respond, send an email back. And I think this is the key strategy, and why it's working so well for people like Jennifer Salter and Donna Swansea, because Donna Swansea's done 250 plus transactions through Facebook alone, and through Facebook
That's
leads. It's a lot. Yeah, it's insane. But the thing is she's the same person on Facebook, off of Facebook. You're going to see her, you're going to find her. She's a real person. She's relational. She's like a super genuine person. Same thing with Jennifer Salter. Same thing with everybody else. Like if you And ultimately, you got to remember, you are a very likable person. You are a very sociable person. You've got all of those incredible traits.
I
right?
know, but you mean the audience watching.
Yeah, the audience. Yeah.
Right.
This doesn't have to be just
Specifically.
about me, Jonathan.
No.
So
Dale and Brian, you guys are super likable. And the key is that, when you know that it kind of like removes the hesitancy as well on the approach, because then it's like, okay, I'll just film myself, I'll send it out there, put it in my bomb, I build it into automation, so it always sends out. And that instantly, again, diffuses that the walls that people might have up on, and then it's like, oh, this is a real person, they're here to help serve.
Well, think
Got
of
it.
it as a book out of Winning Friends and Influencing People, right? Think of the idea, psychologically speaking. I think a lot of people forget this: is you're paying Facebook to take your business page and interrupt someone's personal Facebook newsfeed. So, wouldn't it make sense, psychologically speaking, to actually personally connect with them?
and kind of fix that interruption.
Yeah, and fix that interruption, because a lot of people are like, well, I'm gonna let my email do its thing. I'm gonna let my SMS Autobot do its thing and all that stuff. But I'm like, well, you can personally connect in the place through Facebook Messenger, sending them a friend request, looking to connect that way. If you want to be in the place they're spending an hour or more a day in their personal newsfeed, no one sits in the on their computers or their phones and just sitting in their inbox, like for hours a day.
Right.
Not to mention, okay, I personally use my inbox every day, and when I come to there in the morning and I go select all, and then I unclick the ones that I'm going to read, and I just delete the other ones. My wife, on the other hand,
I like that. I'm gonna have to use that.
yeah, my wife, on the other hand, just lets her inbox build, and she's got like 10,000 unread messages. So if you're like that person, like however they're going to get that,
I have 21,727 unread.
You're like
emails.
my wife, right? Probably
Like your
80,
wife.
like
all I do is scan the subject line, look at who it's from, and scan the subject line, and I just pick what I'm going to read and let it all fall to the bottom.
That also means you can miss a lot.
Right? Oh yeah, and then so this is the backup plan. I wait for the text, which is like, dude, you never answered my email. And I'm like, oh, let me go find that. That's how I operate.
So okay, so with that being said, that's why if you have this solution going out for you and all you have is an email, because everybody wants this next piece of information. They want the sell date, they want the immediately, they want all those great information on the capture. They want to make sure that if they load that up, then they're going to read a review and they're going to see this is actual Selma, who works with you matters. If this phone number is collected, then it's going to automatically send out an SMS text. But if all they got was an email, then you have to learn how to become a master at sending email. And not just as an automation standpoint, you got to learn that I could actually take this entire message from my automation. And if you're using the right type of system, in this case, I'm using something like BombBomb, I can go back and really drive that right back in there with the same message. I'm attaching my own personal tracking on it so that I can get that 90% open, because I'm not going to rely on my automations. Now I got to make sure that my tracking mechanisms are showing opens, are showing the play, are showing the reply and the click. And if your click, like Wendy has a click that takes them back to their personal Facebook, that's the win. Because if I can get you connected with me on Facebook Messenger, I can move everything to that direction. And now, that's a whole nother subject. I can teach you how to use Facebook as a CRM and friends lists and Messenger. It's powerful, so powerful. But people got to be wanting to learn this stuff. There's a lot to it, and I think that's what we love most. It's like, okay, you can generate leads all day, and most companies can say they do it, but then what can you do from that moment that click becomes a lead, and how do you look at that relationship? Because you want them to see you as a human being, right? Are you doing your effort to see them that way?
Yeah.
Are you going to profile that person and try to find out what makes their lives tick, right? So, and then a lot of people don't. They just like, oh, this is just an email lead or an address. I'm not gonna, they didn't respond to my text message, or I've called them and left a voicemail. And so like, okay, well, yeah, you're gonna be like the average 1% realtor out there that does, 1% lead conversion, or you can be somebody like Jennifer that averages a deal per month with StreetText.
Yeah, that's excellent. So on that note, it sounds like you guys really take care of your clients that work with you guys. So how can they find you guys? How can they come and find out more about StreetText and figure out whether that's going to be a good addition to their marketing plan?
If they're interested, they can do the trial. It's 7 days. It's free on our end, but they still have to pay. You'll still have to pay for your Facebook ads. Budget about $10 a day on that side. The
So
Uh,
70 bucks. So they throw 70 bucks into it, right? What are they
Exactly.
looking to get out of that?
At the end,
So you
100
always,
bucks.
so here's the way I would look at it. 24 hours, you let 3 ads, each at $10, go head to head against each other. That's called the split test. And then you eliminate 1 or 2 of those and let the one continue for the rest of the trial, and basically indefinitely if it's running great. That's usually the simplest way to put it.
yeah, no,
Okay.
it's and so, but the key here is, whether or not you do that, that's okay. The key is, what's one actionable takeaway item? I'd write it down right now. Like, what's one thing that you've learned from this call that you're going to apply to your business today? Because if you're just here and you're sitting and you're like, great, I learned some things, but you don't actually apply it, what benefit does that have to your future? None. So if you've heard something, you've learned something from Dale, from Brian, from Marcus today, like if you've taken an insight, write it down, put your action plan to paper, and then go and implement it. Take one thing away from this. And the last thing I say is, like what Marcus said there as well on the end about leads, is do your due diligence on that lead. If you get an address and you get an email and maybe they're not following up with you, pull it up on the tax records, compare it, say, do those things match? If they match, that's a real person. That was a real, remember that every time somebody submits something, there's a real reason why they're submitting it. They're not just out there being like, da, 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 da. No, they had a reason, they had an intent. So now it's your responsibility to get curious, to uncover what that reason was, so that you're creating that conversation. But again, take what's that one key action item that you want to take from this, and then go implement in your business, and then tell Dale and Brian why your business is so successful in a few months. So they know what they're doing is having that kind of impact.
Absolutely. Great. So go check the trial out with StreetText, everybody, if you guys want to add this into your business. And one last thing, if they're going to try you out, don't do it. You can't do this for 7 days. That doesn't make any sense, right? I appreciate that you guys have a free trial. Fantastic. But listen, the reality is you can't evaluate this on 7 days. That's not going to work that way. If you decide that you want to generate seller business or buyer business from Facebook, there's going to be a learning curve. You have to implement it. And I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but they have to do this at minimum. I would say a minimum of 6 months or 3 at the least. If you're really anxious to do this, 3 months at least. I think you should do 6 at least, so that you can figure out how the game works if you're not doing it at all. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think if you're doing the 7-day trial, think of it as okay, at the end of the 7 days, I'm going to know what my cost per lead is going to be in my marketplace. Check.
Good.
That's going to be success.
There we go. That's I think that's a good thing that they could look at over 7 days.
Yeah, for the next month. Okay, what's my appointment booking ratio? Am I winning my appointments? 3 months later, great. Have I done a deal? The key here is that for you to have that success, you need to give yourself 2 things. And this is really important. People don't do this. Give yourself time to learn. Be like okay with learning. Be okay with doing something new, and that's going to take process. No gymnast started out as an Olympian in their first 3 months. And yet we expect ourselves to be Olympians in 3 months. And you could be born with the talent, but there's a big difference between being born with the talent and actually taking the time to train to actually see that talent, the mastery of that talent put in action. And then the other, and I think that's really important, because your snowball effect that you'll see like in your life of when you really like, pick anything and then just choose to really focus on and run with it. It's so much bigger. It'll be so much bigger than you can imagine if you commit to the process of allowing yourself to get better. And then number 2 is, again, just give it the time that an investment requires. Like if you plant a seed, you're not going to be angry at the seed if it doesn't produce a crop tomorrow. So if you're in a really short time frame where you're like, I need something tomorrow, Well, then there are countless ways to go do that. You got to call your friends, call your family, pick up the phone and call all your past clients, everybody you've ever worked with. Do circle prospecting. If you don't have a listing today, find a broker in your market that has a listing today. Go in that market and show people what that home is selling for or sold for. Like go in that, like there are so many strategies you can do right now that are free that can get you deals today. Go do those things. And then when you're ready and you have the bandwidth and if you're hungry and your drive is driving you crazy, step back a second, ask yourself, am I doing the activities that are getting me to the outcome, or am I driving myself crazy because I'm so focused on the outcome? So it's really, those are wise words, Dale, and you could go into that forever, but it's, if you pick one thing, move the needle in that one direction, it will impact you.
Excellent. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that everybody watching this got a lot out of it. And, I know that they can really take this to heart and implement it in their business. So next week, everybody will be back to the regular cash call. Me and Brian sitting here and, telling you guys how to have better conversations and convert your leads. So check out StreetText if you guys are interested in trying something like that. And thank you again, guys, for joining us.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
It's been a blast.